What does a principal need to know about special education law? And Chapter 3, What does a principal need to know about special education eligibility? By Kristen Herring for EDLD 5623, Developing Leaders, under Dr. Kimberly Wilkerson. Individuals with Disability Education Act, or IDEA, provides legal protection over students with disabilities, ensures all children will be allowed a free public education that is appropriate considering the student's disability. Identification. Students must be tested in their home language. Identify students' specific disability and type of services needed. Parents and guardians are to be informed of testing prior to the beginning of testing. Schools must consider a variety of data collected, not just one piece, like the IQ test. Behavior is to be studied. Districts are required to provide testing if a disability is suspected, and policies and procedures should be in place in a district to test preschool children as well. Evaluation. It is required that it be in an area of need. The committee should be formed to determine services needed for the disability. A creation of an individualized education plan should be done by the committee, also known as an IEP. The committee should set goals and objectives for the student. Educators commit to following this plan, which is reviewed every 1 to 3 years, and 3 years is the requirement. Placement. Parental rights are protected in order to protect children and students from discrimination. Students are to receive as much education within the general population as possible, and that can be done through inclusion when possible, or they can be placed in the least restrictive environment. Provision of services as needed should be given. Transition services. These services assist students with disabilities in moving from adulthood into from being a student in high school to adulthood. Training should be provided to assist the student and parent in making career, living, and educational decisions post-high school, including continuing education, career training, life skills, and community service. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973 includes Section 504 and Section 508. Section 504 prevents a student from being excluded from participation due to a disability. Special education modifications are not needed for students that are under Section 504. Accommodations for these students will level the playing field. Section 508, this provides protection for students in that all government-run technology services must be usable by disabled students and persons, and it requires schools to provide equal access to technology for students with disabilities. The Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, and Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA, will be covered here. The ADA made the disability coverage broader to reduce discrimination. It required inclusion of disabled students in programs through acceptable accommodations and provided a means to grieve when discrimination does occur. FERPA limits who is able to see a student's records and ensures parents and guardians the freedom to view or check their child's records at any time. It provides a way for parents to grieve a student's report if they do not agree with it, and the school's in compliance to follow the law. FERPA bans providing student records to others without parental permission. There should be a written district policy in place that aligns to FERPA. Student records include evaluations, IEPs, outcomes of student goals and objectives, and these files should be protected at all times. The PSEL Standard 5 aligns with protecting students as an educational leader. It is important that we have community of care and support for our students, and administrators will ensure that students receive support and services to achieve academically and socially. The referral process. Pre-referral intervention should be done first. General education teachers should evaluate a potential need for interventions to assist a student. Interventions should be documented and data kept to provide evidence of support and effectiveness of those supports. If the general education interventions are working, then no referral is needed. If the data provides evidence that more support is necessary for student success, then a referral should be made. Referrals. Stakeholders, including a teacher, education specialist, counselor, principal, or parents, can request a SPED referral. The decision on whether testing is needed must be made within 10 days of the referral, and parents are to be notified with the findings and provided with due process information. Multidisciplinary team is a committee of stakeholders that collects the data. They create plans for IEP interventions to assist the student in attaining the objectives and goals. Evaluation for special education eligibility. Evaluation should occur once contacting the parents has been done in writing so that they know and they have a plan in place to assess their child's SPED eligibility and reasons. Schools should also obtain parent signatures. The parents should be provided due process information and provided what the expected results are going to be and types of services that may be needed. Evaluation of services. Students may also need OT or occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language therapy, counseling. If other services are thought to be needed, evaluations of those needs must occur within the 10-day period as well. Triennial evaluations. Students receive SPED services are to be reevaluated at least every 3 years. And the decision should be made whether or not there's still a need for services. The goals and objectives should be updated, and IDEA's eligibility check should be done. Evaluation of 504 accommodations. A committee with an understanding of the student is in place to discuss the data and the student. Evaluation is completed by someone who has completed training. Area evaluated is specific to the disability, and tests should be reflective of the student's capabilities. Parents are informed ahead of time and acknowledge that they have been informed and are given due process information. These are the disability categories. ADHD, also called Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, is one. Evaluation is needed to determine if the student needs modifications under IDEA or accommodations under Section 504 if they have ADHD. Learning disabilities means that a student is behind other students who are the same age as them. The committee report reveals evidence that there is an identified specific learning disability. Behaviors that are important and are observed during the observation time may be discussed, and relationship between behaviors and academic ability is observed as well.